welcome to the first full-fledged edition of the Heart and Goal podcast with myself, Nate Bukaty, along with the World Cup veteran and Kansas City legend, Matt Besler. For those of you that are just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're from Kansas City, if you're from the region, if you're from the world, and you're ready to come to Kansas City and you want to learn a little bit about our beautiful hometown, this is the podcast for you. We're going to be giving you behind-the-scenes access to all of the actions taking place, getting Kansas City ready for the World Cup. We're going to have detailed information for you in town if you want to know about how things are going to work for this World Cup. We're going to break down the World Cup itself. In fact, today, we're really going to focus on the draw because that's the big news that we have in front of us now. Matt, you and I were both at the Power and Light District. You were hosting the private party upstairs. I was with Jimmy Conrad out on the stage with I don't know how many thousands of fans we had show up. What are your biggest memories? What stood out to you about the experience?
I love being down there. To me, this is the unofficial, official kickoff of the World Cup. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of talk about what are we going to expect and, you know, can you predict what's going to happen and who's going to play who? Up until the draw, it's really just hearsay. Mm-hmm. But once the draw finally happens, you can actually start piecing together what it's going to look like, the schedules, the game times, the TV times, the matchups. You can start breaking it down. So to me, this was a big kickoff of when things get real. But I love being down in Kansas City. I think the Power and Light District is probably one of the best venues for that type of event.
To lay it out for everybody, in the past, the World Cup had been 32 teams. This year, it's expanding to 48. 42 teams have already punched their ticket to the World Cup. There are 6 teams still to be determined, but we got everybody else down, and we know who's playing in Kansas City. Let's be honest. There's one headliner that's coming to Kansas City that shines above all the rest, and we're not going to sleep on the rest either, by the way, because we're really excited. But when you see Argentina, the reigning World Cup champs, 3-time World Cup champs, if my memory serves correctly, and Lionel Messi's name get pulled, and they're going to play their first game defending their World Cup title at Arrowhead Stadium, that's going to get everybody's attention.
When they pulled Argentina, I don't know what it was like for you outside, but where I was hosting the party upstairs, everybody went crazy.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Awesome. But I mean, if you had to pick a team out of anybody in the world, I think Argentina is probably 1, 2, 3. I mean, top 3 for sure of teams that you would want to come to Kansas City. The history that they have, they're the defending champs, the culture, the passionate fan base, Messi, right? TBD on if he plays. And by the way, he's going to be there.
He's going to play.
I mean, people saying, oh, he's not sure. Like, he will be there. He will be playing.
He's not missing the World Cup.
I 100% agree.
I'll be stunned. I'll be stunned if he's not playing in this World Cup. Okay, so they're going to take on Algeria on June 16th. That's at 8 o'clock Central Time. June 20th, Ecuador versus Curacao. If you want to put a pyramid of biggest country in the world in soccer and smallest, you might have them both. Between Argentina and Curacao, who have never made it to the World Cup, an island nation of 150,000 people, they're going to bring their own enthusiasm because they're participating in this global event for the first time ever. June 25th, Tunisia versus the Netherlands. The Netherlands are a massive country. They have made it to the finals more than anybody else without winning it. 3-time finalist, but never a winner. And they're a big, solid squad again, and they have a massive, rabid fan base. Then on June 27th, Algeria come back to Kansas City, and they take on Austria. Austria qualifying in Europe, and that's an interesting story as well because I believe they're in for the first time since 1998. So that's a big drought for them, and that means they're going to be excited to be here as well. And then we got a round of 32 match, and then, Matt, there's a quarterfinal on July 11th, which could very well pit Lionel Messi against Cristiano Ronaldo. Argentina versus Portugal. We'll not get ahead of ourselves, but that looms.
It
right?
does. It does. I saw that. So round of 32, we want to pay attention to Group K.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Group K winner, which is Portugal, a playoff team, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. The winner of that group will play their round of 32 game in Kansas City for sure.
Portugal will be the favorite. Doesn't mean they'll win the group, but if they do, you could be looking at Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal.
Absolutely.
coming to
that's
town.
That's a great possibility for Kansas City. And then you mentioned the quarterfinal. That's going to be the biggest game that Kansas City ever hosts in our history when it comes to soccer. But quarterfinal, a lot of things have to go right. I think Argentina and Portugal both have to win their groups, and then obviously they need to advance into the quarterfinal. But could you imagine that? Messi, Ronaldo?
No. I mean, it's one of those things that when we started talking about the possibilities, them playing against one another in a late round matchup at the World Cup, the highest stakes that you could get. And we just mentioned we don't know if Messi's going to be there. But this would be the last time in the World Cup. And the one thing Messi really has concretely over Ronaldo is he's won a World Cup. So could you imagine the stakes of that game? I mean, you really could make the argument this is one of the biggest games in the history of the game.
Soccer gods, if you're listening right now, we're speaking into existence.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen.
Argentina is the kind of country where Lionel Messi comes from because they've had the Diego Maradonas of the world. And when you look at their roster, they've got world-class players at every position. They've got world-class managers all over the world, like Mauricio Pochettino, who's coaching the men's national team here in the United States. This is something that is much bigger than one man.
There is something different about Argentina, especially right now. Mm-hmm. Right now, the passion that they bring, the intensity of who they are as people, and their recent history when it comes to the success that they had, there is no other country like them. Argentina has the complete package, and I think people just underestimate how tough they are and how competitive they are. I think people just assume, oh, Messi, it's only Messi. No, it's not. They are so deep. They are so talented. They are just so much more than being a skillful team. They are very, very difficult to play against.
Let's go just kind of down the list here from the perspective of the next biggest club. We mentioned the Netherlands and the Orange Army coming here. The Netherlands have never been known to back down from a fight themselves, and they have the history of being a team that can get to the finals on a consistent basis.
It's a great team to get drawn into Kansas City. For one, they can win the World Cup. They're extremely talented. They've always been talented. They've always entered World Cups with some of the most talent. They play beautiful soccer. They just haven't quite been able to get over the final hump.
Now, you've got Ecuador versus Curacao. We mentioned those two. Ecuador is a side that has some big-name talented players. They come out of CONMEBOL. That's the qualifying region from South America. They've been able to go toe-to-toe with teams like Argentina. They won't be intimidated when they come to the United States, and they're taking on this Curacao team. The analogy with Curacao was like one of those championship week teams in the NCAA tournament that punches their ticket to the tournament for the first time. They're going to be so excited to be here that it's going to be really interesting to see what they bring to the table.
Yeah, to me, they'd have almost zero shot of advancing, but it's going to be a great storyline. I'm excited to see how many people from Curacao come to support their country. I'm also excited to see if there's any people from Curacao that live in America or live near Kansas City that make their way here. They will have so much pride, and they will be so happy just to be there. And you will be able to see that. That will be on display. And I think it's going to be really cool for Kansas Cityans and all the visitors just to watch. It's just going to make you happy. And you're going to be proud of them too. Ecuador is an interesting one. To me, any team out of South America has a chance to do well at this World Cup. One, all the teams are good. South America plays really good football. Their qualifying process might be the most competitive, most difficult region to qualify out of. But I think one thing that's going to help all these South American teams is the climate. The climate, we're going to be playing summertime in the United States of America. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. There's going to be some afternoon games. The South Americans are used to it. It does not make them as uncomfortable as it would the European teams. The European teams are already talking about it. They're already bitching about the weather and the humid, and we need all these water breaks, and we're going to do this and that to beat the heat. Man, these South American teams aren't thinking about that. Like, what are you talking about? This is normal.
Yeah.
We don't need to do anything different. Bring it on. So if I had to put my chips and spread them amongst teams, I'd go pretty hard on the South American teams.
When I was standing on stage with Jimmy Conrad and I asked him, who do you want from pot 2? The United States was in pot 1 because they are a host nation. So Mexico, the United States, and Canada all went into pot 1. That's with the best nations in the world according to the FIFA rankings. Not because of their rankings, but because they're the host nation. So then pot 2, that's the second tier of ranked nations. And I said, who do you want? And he said Australia would be the best team that the United States could draw. Boom. U.S. draws Australia. They get Paraguay, which is another one of those tough teams out of CONMEBOL, and then they get one last team qualifying out of Europe. What did you make of the draw?
I think it's incredibly favorable to the U.S. It's a very friendly draw on paper. I don't need to say it, but it means nothing. The on paper means nothing. They're all going to be tough games. That's what everybody's going to say. But that's not our job. We're not players anymore. At least I'm not a player anymore. I don't have to talk like that. I can actually say what I feel.
Yeah.
It's an easy group. It's a great group. I love our chances. The expectation for me is we go and win this group. And when you win your group, you advance to the knockout rounds and you get a higher seed.
Yep.
So theoretically, you're going to have an easier path to the round of 16, to the quarterfinal, to the semifinal. I think that's probably been one of our crutches or big hurdles in years past is we've never really won our group. So our path to the quarterfinals has been extremely difficult. We make the round of 16 and we're matched up with a powerhouse, a top 4 team in the world, and it becomes very difficult. So let's talk about the group. First off, Australia. I had this exact same reaction as Jimmy Conrad. We're looking at the pots. USA's in pot 1. We're looking at pot 2. They have the rankings. Australia was the lowest or worst ranked team in pot 2. So on paper, they are the easiest team that we could have gotten. Australia right now is ranked 26th in the world. I couldn't believe that. 26th.
That's actually higher than I would have guessed when I saw it.
Way higher.
Yeah.
If I had to throw a dart, I would probably say they're in the 50s or 60s. That's kind of what I'm used to. And again, not to take anything away from Australia, and I don't want to try to jinx things. I think they're going to be a difficult team to play against. But the fact that Australia was in pot 2 because they're ranked 26th in the world, sign me up.
I want to go back to Paraguay because that's the opener for the United States. And Matt, and we can talk about this, what happens in game 1 sets the tone for the entire tournament. It puts you either in a good spot or a bad spot with only a couple of matches left because there's not a lot of room for error when you're only guaranteed 3 matches in this competition. The United States feeling good right now because they beat Paraguay in a friendly here not that long ago. A lot of people would point out it's a friendly. And there's a difference, right, when you're playing a friendly versus a match that's actually for something.
Well, do we need to remind the listeners or tell the listeners what happened at the end of that friendly match? You remember what happened?
I'm trying to remember.
There was a big fight.
Oh, yeah, there was a dust-up.
There was a bench clearing.
Yeah.
What people say brawl. It wasn't really a brawl.
Alex Freeman getting into it, right?
That's right. That's right. So to me, that's the big thing I took away from that game. And once I heard Paraguay, that was the first thing I thought about when we were down in Power and Light at the draw and Paraguay got grouped into USA. I said, the fight, the brawl that just happened. I think most people said, oh, yeah, that's great. We just beat them. I didn't think about that.
Okay.
I thought about the brawl.
Okay.
They are gonna come in fired up, and they are gonna remember that, and the emotions are gonna be high. I think it's gonna be a tough game.
One of the things that's about to happen too is we're going to find out what national teams are base camping in Kansas City, and there could be as many as 3 teams base camping in Kansas City. One in the Sporting Kansas City facilities, one at Kansas City Current, and one at Rock Chalk Park in Lawrence, Kansas. I don't have my head around it, but people ask me, what does that mean? You were part of a base camp when you guys went to Brazil with Sao Paulo, if I remember correctly. Is that where your base camp was?
Correct.
Okay, that's the big city in Brazil. Like, who all goes? Is it just the team? Are there all kinds of people from the federation, media members? What involves a base camp?
Yeah, so this is a misconception or a misunderstanding that people might have when it comes to the World Cup. The base camp countries are a really big deal in terms of who's coming to visit your city. The way that it works is, as a team, as a country, the majority of your time that you're going to spend at the World Cup is going to be in your base camp city. It's not going to be in the cities that you play your games in. So you will spend probably close to 75% of your time at your base camp. And then you will travel to go play a game in a different city. You'll play the game, you'll fly back immediately after the game.
You fly out the day before?
You fly out the day before.
Okay.
Maybe 2 days, depending on how long it is. But just say day before, you play the game, you fly back right after, you get back late, and you're back in your base camp city for the next 4 or 5 days, recovering, practicing, getting ready for the next game. Second game, you'll hop on a plane, you'll go to the city, you'll play, you'll come back to your base camp city. You'll do the same thing throughout the tournament. So players that have off days, that want to go check out the city, they'll be doing that in their base camp city, likely not in the cities that they play their games. So that's from the team's perspective. From the fans' perspective, the fan bases also spend a lot of time in their base camps. I would say the fans probably spend a little more time in the game cities. They might go like 2 or 3 days early because they want to be tourists, but they will also spend a ton of time in the base camp because that's where their team is. And the way that they approach the World Cup, the way that the fans from Europe, from South America, other parts of the world, this is the way they vacation is they don't take a vacation for 5 days or 7 days or 2 weeks. They take month-long vacations. That's their culture. Mm-hmm. So they will come over here for a month and they will just follow the team. If the team's in Kansas City for 5 days, they'll be there. If they go to Dallas to play a game, they'll fly down or drive down and go to Dallas and then they'll come back to Kansas City. So I think it's something to understand, to pay attention to. Whoever gets base camped in Kansas City, it's going to be a big deal. I mean, that is going to be a country where we get a lot of experiences out of.
And everything that I've heard, and I know some of the people that have been in the process of bringing national team federations in to Kansas City to show them the facilities and, and advertise for, hey, this is one of the cities that you ought to consider. The feedback's very positive from some specific reasons. Location, you're a 4-hour flight tops to any of the stadiums. And that could matter because even if you know where your first 3 games are, they could be on the West Coast, but if you get through those first 3 games, you might be playing a game on the East Coast. And so if you're base camping in the middle of the country, no matter where you end up going, you're not that far away. But we're off and running, folks, and this is the place we want you to come for all of your information regarding the World Cup coming to Kansas City for 2026. So hit us up. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like us. Make sure you let everybody else know. We want to get the word out. We want to hear from you as well. What types of things do you want to know? What are your thoughts on the draw here in Kansas City? Who do you want to see coming here to base camp and why? And let us know because we're off and running, Matt, with this Heart and Goal podcast.
We are, and we're going to have some guests. We've got some high-profile, exciting guests lined up. Today was just me and you to get things started, but I'm excited to get some guests on this show, and maybe I can put them on the spot with some of these questions. He
does know some people, Matt Besler, so I think he's got a Rolodex that'll get us some pretty good guests on this show. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is Heart and Goal. Soccer in the heart of America, the biggest event ever coming in 2026. We will see you next time.